What's up, y'all? Giant XL American Bully Group, Facebook, also Thrower Bullies YouTube. We are live. Thanks, y'all, for joining in. Actually, I don't even know if it's anybody in here yet, but let me go ahead and get this all set up. Just a second. And let's see. Is it showing my live? Is it showing my live? Let's see here. Why can't I find my live? I can never find my live when I go live. There we go. All right, so what's up, y'all? Thanks for joining in. Make sure you check us out at Thrower Bullies Instagram and also Thrower Bullies YouTube. We are live on YouTube and in the group, Giant American Bully Group, Giant XL American Bully Group. So thank y'all for joining in. Let me pin this to the top of the group and we can go ahead and get started. I'm using StreamYard, so I'm going to try to keep up with your comments, and I think I should be able to do a better job of it today than usual. Pinned to the top. Want to give a shout out to Robert McCormick, also Andre Smith of BGK. I want to thank those brothers for joining in on the Friday night lives discussing marketing and promotions. The first session we did taking your pictures, your videos, things like that. Best way to go about doing it, whether you have a phone or a camera. The second session was this past Friday. We went into what was it? We went into Facebook and how to go about handling Facebook. You know, when to run ads, how to run ads, how to target certain people, how to operate in groups and things like that. So that was also good. Casper, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. If you guys are in YouTube, I think it should automatically show you. If you're in Facebook, look at the caption on the live that we're in right now, and it has a little blue highlighted StreamYard.com/Facebook. If you click on that, then it will show me exactly who it is. Because right now I'm seeing the people that are in YouTube and the people that are in Facebook, but the people that are on Facebook is not saying who they are unless you've clicked on that before. You just click on that, and it will take you to, I think it's a big blue button. And then you click on that blue button, and then at that point, it will start showing who you are. But go ahead and join in. We're going to get into today's topic or today's topics. The other thing, I want to thank Danny Cervantes. He'll actually be live again tomorrow. I want to thank Fred Duran. Fred Duran was unable to make it this Monday, which was yesterday. He's been doing some big things, and so he got kind of caught up with that. But definitely want to thank Fred for joining in. So let's go ahead and get into the topics. Last Tuesday, we were discussing a variety of topics. One of those topics was how we got from the Bull and Terrier to the Pit Bull to the American Bully. We didn't get into that because we had a guest on, which was Joel, and that was great having him on. He's from Duval Bullies. The owner of Shots Fired. Joel's been doing a lot of things. He's a real good dude, somebody I enjoyed talking to. But it was good to have him on. So we didn't end up getting into the history of this breed and the breeds that started it. I pretty much have done a series 1 on it, but it all starts back with, your Molossers and your, especially with this breed, your Molossers, your Allants. Molossers were a heavier dog. Allant was a heavy dog, but a lot more agile, used more for hunting than for actual men, and as a man stopper. Then you figure at some point the Allants kind of became extinct, and then this all went into all these dogs slowly came together to become what we call Mastiffs. From the Mastiffs, you had the Roman Colosseum, where they were fighting against tigers, bears, lions, things like that. Through inbreeding, these Mastiffs ended up getting dwarfism. That dwarfism caused what we call now the Bulldog. This original Bulldog was extinct. That bulldog, and once the Coliseums got banned, and or the some of the competitions at the Coliseums got banned, those dogs then kind of disappeared. The Masters kind of went the band dog route. The Coliseum turned into what we call today the Olympics. The bulldog kind of went towards the farmland and helping with unruly bulls. From there, the bulldog, you also had another amp dog that was helping out with my favorite massive is the Cane Corso. I love Cane Corsos. My kennel partner and cousin, Aaron, used to breed Cane Corsos before we got into bullies, Casper. But the Masters went the band dog route, the Bulldogs went their route, and the Bulldogs became sometimes used for dog fighting. At the same time, on these farmlands, you also had terriers that were used for hunting and just getting rid of varmints. All terriers weren't small back then. Terriers also were being used for dog fighting due to their tenacity. Bulldogs was a lot of toughness. Some point, somebody got the idea to bring the two together, and this is where you start your bull and terrier breeds. They then also went two routes, but they went those routes due to failures. The bull terrier and the Staffordshire Bull Terrier were both originated for dog fighting. The Bull Terrier, but at the same time, dog fighting started getting looked down on. The Bull Terrier was slightly larger than the Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and the Staffordshire Bull Terrier was slightly larger than what it is today. But these dogs then went their separate routes. The Bull Terrier just did not do as well in the dogfight ring. And it went the show route, which is how all of a sudden it got its funny nose that it has today in the egg-shaped head. The Staffordshire Bull Terrier, on the other hand, continued with dogfighting. From there, the Staffordshire Bull Terrier, then all of a sudden we started colonizing, or Europeans started colonizing America. They started bringing their Staffordshire Bull Terriers with them. Through trade, what ended up happening is people realizing, those who were into dog fighting, realizing they were coming across a lot of different dogs and variations of dogs, and that the Staffordshire Bull Terrier needed a little more agility, a little more range. And they started crossing the Staffordshire Bull Terrier with hounds, especially hounds and that's how you get a lot of your colors today that you see in the Pit Bull Terrier that you don't see in the Staffordshire Bull Terrier. So started crossing with hounds. That brought a little height, a little more leanness. Then they started breeding that mix back to the Staffordshires and the dogs that were winners. From there, all it was about was winners, breeding winner to winner and winner to winner and winner. And that is how we got the American Pit Bull Terrier. Then about 80 years ago, somebody got the bright idea that they wanted to bring the Pit Bull Terrier into the show ring, and they wanted AKC to acknowledge it. That's how UKC developed. AKC decided they would not bring the American Pit Bull Terrier in. They already had the Staffordshire Bull Terrier, but they decided they would not bring the American Pit Bull Terrier in unless it got rid of the word pit. So then there was because that symbolized dogfighting. So then there was a scramble to basically come up with the name. At some point, I think there was a couple names thrown around, Yankee Dog and several other things. At some point, they decided they were going to call this dog the American Staffordshire Bull Terrier. The AKC has the American Staffordshire Bull Terrier, which is also registered with the UKC as the American Pit Bull Terrier. The ADBA has UKC registered American Pit Bull Terriers, but will not allow them if they're also registered as an AKC American Staffordshire Bull Terrier, which is why you see a difference in the dogs today. There's a difference between the American Pit Bull Terrier and the American Staffordshire Bull Terrier and the American Staffordshire Terrier. They're not the same dog. The American Staffordshire Terrier of the AKC, one has a lot more allergy issues. It is not a game-driven dog. They can be aggressive and they can be dog aggressive, but they are not a game. They do not reach the point of gameness, especially any longer. There are diseases that are prevalent within the American Staffordshire Terrier that are not prevalent within the American Pit Bull Terrier. The American Pit Bull Terrier is a hardier dog. Tends to be a little smaller than the American Staffordshire Bull Terrier, tends to be a little leaner. People have always mixed those two, though, especially if you're dealing with the UKC. Self, what's up, dude? Love the video you did today. Self is somebody who I really like what he's doing with his dogs. He works the flirt pole like no other I've seen in on Facebook and in this bully game. He works it a lot, how I was talking about the other day, where you use it as a cat meal. He also works it to get his dogs going up the A-frame over obstacles and things like that. This man really, really works his dog. So much props to him. Check him out when you guys get a chance. But when we got to, so now you fast forward and throughout the years, you've got people who are breeding the American Staffordshire Bull Terrier and the American Pit Bull Terrier. Donovan, thanks for joining in, man. Let's see who else we got in here. And I think that's it. So, they've always been crossing it. And if you look into what Dave Wilson was talking about, that how he was showing dogs and into the show dogs of the Amstaff, but he wanted a larger, thicker Amstaff than what he was usually seeing. So through whatever methods he was doing, that's what he started producing and getting into. In the meantime, you have people who were always crossing dogs, whether it was Pit Bull to American Bulldog, Pit Bull to whatever. Here in Cali, we were breeding Pit Bulls to anything to create larger dogs, whether it was for creating band dogs. What's up, Danny? I didn't even see you. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. OG Samuel, what's up, man? 100. But here in Cali, New York, Virginia, there was a lot of crossing. In Cali, we were real bad with it. We were crossing pit bulls to anything. Some to create a good-looking dog, some to create their own line of band dogs. It was various reasons. And a lot of people didn't give a damn about papers and whether they were registered and all these various things. That all, in my opinion, led to what we look at now as the Gotti line. Gray line had a lot of great dogs in the late 90s. Shout out to Gary Moore. He jumps up on the live sometimes. But they were some that were having the blue dogs, and those blue dogs were still extremely driven and athletic. I know a few gray line dogs that will give pit bulls, I'm talking game pit bulls, back in the late 90s, 2000s, a run for their money. Eventually, we got the one we all know and have somewhere in our pedigree, which is Juan Gotti. Juan Gotti created or started Gotti line. Gotti line had dogs that they were continuing to mix with mastiffs, various dogs to create a larger, thicker bone dog. Eventually, at some point, Razor's Edge and Dave Wilson dogs got crossed with the Gotti line dogs. And then here we are with the American Bully, which was still, after that blend, was still getting crossed with various dogs. And that's how we got to where we are today. We know that the Merle comes from the Catahoula and the Alapaha. A lot of people say that there were Merles back in the day. There were Merle pit bulls back in the day, but they were put down. Colby's Goldie has a terrible picture of her that people often like to say she was a Merle dog, but Goldie was not a Merle dog. Merles were put down, and one of the reasons they were put down, along with a lot of blues, and if you look at the history of blues, they didn't just come from diluted black. We also had the blue Paul, and if you travel or you follow the travel of gypsies throughout Europe, and be quiet, girl, and even into America, you will see how the blue Paul made its way as a game dog, but also into the mixture of the pit bulls to increase those blues. But most times, you got to remember, it was about winning, not about colors. So blues were often put down blue because of allergy issues. Merles, the coat, skin gets ripped, it don't heal as well. So people weren't really using these dogs back then. The reason you have Merles in the American Bully today is not because of the Merles of the pit bulls. That is something that is extremely false when people speak on it. The reason you have Merles today is due to the fact that we included Alapahas, and why is my phone keep ringing and not stopping? We have Alapahas, which come in Merle, and we also have the Catahoula, which was brought in to create Merles in the American Bully world. Another thing I see coming up with American Bullies is the black and tan, or what you guys call the tri dog. Some people are going to have issue with this, but the facts are there were game dogs, there were game black and tans back in the game dog days, but there weren't enough of them to make their way into what we see in the American Bully world. Those of us who live in Cali are well aware of how many times Rottweilers and Pit Bulls were bred and mixed in throughout the late 80s, early 90s, 2000s, and so on. You got to remember this is a paper hung breed. So your black and tan and your American Bully, there's a 99.9% chance it comes from Rottweilers that made their way into this breed. You can't say we were breeding Mastiffs into this breed of XLs and then all of a sudden say, but we weren't using Rottweilers. Yes, you were. Yes, they were. But there weren't enough black and tan pit bulls to all of a sudden create this abundance of tri dogs. And there were a lot of pit bull mixes back and Rottweiler mixes back in the days for people to hang papers on to bring those dogs to the forefront today. And that is how we got the black and tans or the tri dogs of today, not from the black and tan pit bull. Could there have been some influence? Of course, but more than likely we have to use common sense when paper hanging goes on, and it is what it is. Thank you, Rottweiler, for creating our tri dogs. Now, when it comes to what was the other, and that is how we got to where we are today in the American Bully. We were supposed to do it last week, talk about this last Tuesday. We didn't get around to it. Andre Smith of BGK did a nice video where he spoke on the differences between the American Bully and the pit bull. So check that out on YouTube when you get a chance, or you can go to his page and also find that. Now, what were the topics that we had for today? One of the topics was, let's see here. One of the topics was best ages to breed females and when to stop breeding. Another topic was best forms of exercise and conditioning for bullies. Another topic was care for pregnant or nursing female. And the last one was, does punishing a dog for growling cause dogs to not warm before they bite? And I got that because I saw a funny post, and I thought the responses to that post were hilarious. Shout out to Heather from Oily Drop Bullies for that post. But let's get into it. The best ages to breed females and when to stop breeding. The best age to breed a female, I would say, is right around her third heat. Probably around 2 to 3 years old is right around the time. If you know a dog, I think, second heat is okay. But you really need to know that bloodline. A lot of there's a development factor that you're missing out on when you breed a dog too early, just like there's a development factor that you're missing out on when you spade a dog too early. So you really want to be cognizant of that. Jasmine said, my dog's line is full of dog dual registered as AKC Amstaff Terriers back in the 90s and UKC American Pit Bull Terriers. Makes sense for how my dog's temp is. Exactly. Casper said, I like the lilac color on bullies. Exactly. And I like the lilac. I'm a big fan of the lilac color, which back in my day we called champagne. I'm not sure how it got lilac, because if I'm not mistaken, lilac's like an off shade of purple. So I don't know how we got lilac. But I would say the best time to breed a female, especially if it's your first time getting into a breed or dealing with a specific dog, is around third heat. You want to make sure that maturity is there. I will breed some dogs at second heat. I think we bred Say Cardi Bull at third heat, and I think we went for Justice first breeding, probably around her fourth heat. Um, but you want that dog to have time to develop, not only physically but mentally. Cardi Bull is an extremely rough dog, which is why we held off on breeding her. Extremely highly play driven, very purpose driven. She's rough. Um, and so even when she finally did have her litter at her third heat, she was still rough. I had to manage her a lot. I think she'd be better now. I'm hoping she'll be better in her next breeding. But even like my son was out of town for 2 months for his job. He came back home when the pups were like about 3, 4 weeks old. And her and my son are like best friends. And the minute he stepped in the door, she just forgot about her pups. I mean, she was done with them at that point. So, you do want to make sure that your dog is mature. The way I would judge the maturity of the dog is watch the dog. When a dog goes into heat, their temperament changes slightly. And they tend to be the dog that runs up, bouncing off the walls, they go into heat, and you'll notice that kind of slows down a little bit. Pay attention to that. If you're not noticing a change in that dog's mentality when they go into heat, then that dog is more than likely not ready to breed, or the dog's ready to breed, but you need to be ready to be hands-on with the whole aware of its steps, aware of its surroundings, is able to step around puppies. I've had dogs that were the perfect mothers. Every step they took was delicate. They watched for their step. And then I've had other dogs that just step right over the pups. And I've had some dogs that were kind of a combination of the two. So when it comes to breeding your females, again, I would say no, depending on your experience. If you're experienced with whelping, no earlier than second heat. If you're not experienced with whelping, you're going to need some backup, and that's your female. So you want to wait till at least that third to fourth heat before you breed. And again, check your dog's maturity. And just watch how they maneuver around. Are they still knocking cans off the coffee table with their tails? Pay attention to what it is that dog is doing and how they move around, and you'll have an idea of how they're going to operate with their pups. As far as when to stop breeding, I think females are best bred back to back. It's healthier for them, especially when you're looking at all the scar tissue and everything. I think females are best bred back to back. That is how they are bred in the wild. I would say when to stop is when you notice that dog all of a sudden doesn't recover as well. Some females bounce back with no problem, and it's their fifth, sixth litter. You need to think about why is it though that I'm breeding this female that much, especially if you're building your program. You should have gotten the pups already to move on from this female and on to your next phase. So again, really think about, and let me know, you guys, if there's any sound issues or anything like that you're noticing. But really think about that. I don't think a female needs to be bred more than 3 times. If she's just bringing a lot to the table, and because it's the females that are really the star of this game. We breed our males a million times, and then all of a sudden with our females, we breed them a few times and we cut out on it. But if when it comes to your females, go ahead, and I would say, Jojo, thanks for joining in, brother. When it comes to your females, it's all based on the bounce back. You want to know that female. Ezra, thanks for joining in. You want to know that female is she needs to be recovering quickly from having her litters, and as long as she's recovering quickly, then it's okay to continue breeding her. But you should always have a direction and a purpose of why you're breeding that specific female. What is it? Are you breeding it for something that you're not getting? Are you breeding it for something that you're still correcting in your yard? Why are you still breeding this female over and over? Because having these litters does take a lot out of them. And so you really want to be aware of that. Now, one of the other topics that came up was care for a pregnant or nursing female. I'm gonna keep this one quick. I don't get into a lot of the complicated stuff that you see on Facebook. I am a firm believer that if I can't feed my bully the way I used to feed my Rottweilers, Bull Lurchers, Pit Bulls, things like that, then I don't want that bully. That's just that's me. And the same thing goes with the maintenance of the dogs. Um, I think we do a lot in this bully game that masks and covers up the issues. I think the vets we go to are a huge part of that. And I think the sooner we all get these bullies back to the point where we don't have to spend money on raw and they thrive off of Old Roy and Walmart brand dog food, the better off these dogs will be. I don't feed that, but I'm just saying we need to try to get these dogs back there. If a dog has to eat raw, that's a problem because the rest of the dogs on the planet don't have to eat raw. If a dog has to have grain free, that's a problem because the rest of these dogs on the planet don't have to have grain free. You see homeless people with healthy dogs. So there's no reason these bullies can't be bred along the same expectations and the same standards. When it comes to a female and how to take care of her, I look at it like this. My dogs are exercised daily and in their condition 3 days a week. When I say condition, I mean actually pushing the dog. When I do a breeding with that female, she still is exercised daily, but I no longer condition her the 3 days a week. She's just walked daily for the next 30 days. Once I confirm that she's pregnant, either by taking her to the vet in 30 days or by keeping an eye on her, and around 30 to 40 days is when you can kind of tell. Once I confirm that, then I stop even the exercise regimen. I keep my females, once I do the breeding, I put them on bitch pills, which you can get at your Tractor Supplies or online. And I also, and I'm going to try to stay up with you guys' comments. I also put them on SureGrow 100, and which is also good for your puppies. But I put them on that. I keep their diet the exact same. The only thing is my dogs Monday, Wednesday, Friday get raw ground beef with their kibble. And it's 70-30. So I like a lot of fat content for my dogs. And what I'll do with the female is once she does a breeding, I'll increase that. Instead of her getting it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, she'll get it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. And then once I confirm pregnancy, I pretty much stick to about the same. I don't like them picking up a lot of weight, especially because I'm all of a sudden cutting down on the conditioning and the exercising. So that's all I really do. I increase their regular food. That's it. And I add the bitch pills and I add the SureGrow 100. And that's it. I don't switch diets to anything different. I will start giving Tums because I know it helps with the calcium. But I don't do a lot when it comes to that. And I honestly, with this being a new breed, I don't advise doing a lot. If you've got to do this for a female to have a healthy pregnancy, then that means that female shouldn't get pregnant. And there are a lot of dogs in the bully game that we breed or say shouldn't get bred because of their structure. But then people will have beautiful structure and terrible allergies, low immune system, docile temperament, dogs kind of mentally dumb, but they'll breed that. I think we're better off trying to get these dogs back to what dogs are supposed to be. And then you start focusing on the structure and the show ring and the things like that. That's just my opinion. But I also do know that opinion to be fact-based off of other breeds that I've been involved with and other breeds that any of you can go look into. There's American Bully by a group of people has been incredibly aesthetic based of what we see. And what we see has caused dogs that can't breed naturally, can't give birth naturally, They have allergy issues. You got to feed them special foods. And also, a lot of times people get caught up into like raw. I know people that have just raw broken down and they understand all these things with nutrition. If you got to know all that, what's the purpose in having a dog? You know what I'm saying? Like, they're supposed to be able to eat the scraps that we leave behind. You know, they're supposed to be getting fussed at because they got into our trash. These dogs nowadays will probably turn their nose up at the average trash can. And we got to get back to the old, driven, mischievous, healthy dogs that we've always had. It makes no sense that we sit in this bully world and we allow whoever was into this breed, you know, and Dave Wilson, when you look at him, was obviously a person who was very much into structure and the formation of the dog. At some point, things got lost, and you know, you have a lot of structural issues with this purebred breed that you don't find with stray dogs. I just saw a stray dog today, and it got up perfect conformation, perfect. You don't find that with the bully game. You find you even to the point where we settle. So you see dogs that have splayed toes, weak pasterns, stiff stifles, and they're winning awards. And then these people are knocking you, the new breeder, for having the same issues in your yard. So this breed has still a long ways to go to earn its respect. But I will say it is definitely a beautiful breed to start with. We just got to get it there, you know. And once we all get it there and erase those problems that were left for us to get rid of, I think we'll all be doing good. But I would say you shouldn't have to do a lot for a pregnant female. And 9 times out of 10, those who give you a whole bunch of advice and things that you need to do for a pregnant female, they're just people who like learning new things and being into what they learn. This is supposed to be about the dogs, and I think we really have lost sight of that, especially in this breed. What time are we at? 6:30. So that was best ages to breed and care for a pregnant or nursing female. Best forms of exercise and conditioning for bullies, and does punishing a dog for growling cause the dog to not warm before it bites? So let's get into the best forms of exercise and conditioning for bullies. My favorite forms have, first off, these dogs are big. If you're breeding XLs, which is the group most of us here are in, you should not be doing any conditioning and very little exercise until that dog hits a year old. Just wait. If you're like me and it drives you crazy, just go smoke a cigarette. Just don't mess up that dog by injuring it because of the excess weight and the excess bone that these dogs carry. Wait till that dog gets of age, about a year old, and then gradually break get into it. Cement, which most of us wait till they're around 6 months. You know, keep them in the yard, have a lot of play, get them used to the leash, the collar, and around 6 months, go ahead, start taking them out, teaching them to sit, stay. You know what I mean? And gradually start taking your walks further and further. Once they hit a year old, that's when you can begin conditioning. My favorite, I love the flirt pole. That has always been my favorite go-to for working out a dog. If I was, you know, for whatever competition or thing I was getting ready to put that dog in. Treadmills are great. They're illegal for us to use in California on our dogs. The flirt pole, the spring pole is another great one. The spring pole works the back and rear of the dog. Remember though, when you are using the spring pole, these are large dogs. Their rear feet need to stay on the ground. Do not have these dogs hanging up in the air. There is a video. Everybody brings it up. There is a video of Cardi where I do let her hang. She's hanging for about, I think she might be hanging about 30 seconds, you know. But that I don't do that with her on a regular basis. I actually don't do that at all. We did it that one time. My son was outside with me and we let her hang for a little bit, raised her spring pole up and let her hang. I advise don't do that with these dogs. These dogs are anywhere from 75 to 150 pounds and up. You don't want them hanging. Their rears should always be on the ground, and that helps them develop their rear. So make sure you're working it that way. The flirt pole, the spring pole. With the flirt pole, these are large dogs, thick bone. Joints tend to be suspect on these dogs. Make sure you're not doing a bunch of whipping back and forth. I did a video this past weekend showing how to work the flirt pole in the same manner that you would work a cat meal. Stick to that so the dog is dealing with less impact. When you go the opposite direction, get your dog working in a circle. When you go the opposite direction, you'll notice all of a sudden the dog cuts you off because it wants to get off of, it wants to use its stronger foot for pivoting rather than being on the outside of the run. So when you are using that flirt pole, try to get your dog to run in a circle. You don't need to be doing all the flipping and flopping around that you'll see. If you got hills, one of my favorite things is we live at the bottom of a hill. Walk up the hill fast, walk down the hill slow. And you'll notice it conditions your dog, builds muscle in the dog. So again, uphill fast, downhill slow. You know, and then on flat ground, I work a faster than average walk. We hit the hill, I speed up the walk. It's also going to be great exercise for you. And then when we get ready to go downhill, I walk slightly slower than average, and you'll notice that builds up the front legs of your dog. These types of exercises will also help your dog's angulation a little bit. If your dog genetically has bad angulation, you're not going to do much about it. But these type of walks, for those of you who are in the show ring and you are you think you could use a little bit better angulation, that is one of the ways that you can achieve better angulation. So definitely stay aware of that. Let's see here. Joseph said, given that the Merle was brought in from Merle specific breeds, why is it that we can't breed Merle bullies together? Joseph, the Catahoula and the African wild dog are the only Merles that are able to consistently breed Merle to Merle without issue. Once you get into your Alapaha, the Alapaha breeders that I know pay attention to the eyes. If you're breeding Merles and you've avoided, you know, a lot of white and Merle around the head, some people will get away with breeding two Merles that have most of the Merle on their body. The thing with Merle is it's a lack of pigmentation, and our bodies use pigment for our hearing and our eye development. And so when the Merle gene or the Merle pattern is close up front, or you have a lot of white up front, you want to avoid breeding white to white, Merle to Merle, things like that, because you're taking away the pigment, and that's where you get the issues with Merle. Now, as far as breeding Merle to Merle, you do get other issues that come from it. And the reason is, though we took a Catahoula and brought that into the bullies, then we bred that dog back to more bully dogs to get away from the skinny bone structure of the Catahoula. So therefore, we don't have that. Floyd. We don't have that gene that dogs have that you can breed Merle to Merle. So you figure the Merle, and I'm not sure I'm using the right term, but you'll get it. The Merle is a gene that that mutates. Okay, the Catahoula has a gene in it that mutates the Merle gene. So there's like a double mutation going on with the Catahoula that enables you to breed Catahoula Merle to Catahoula Merle. But at some point, if you talk to Catahoula breeders, they'll let you know that at some point they do need to be aware of how much they're breeding Merle to Merle. With the wild dog of Africa comes in Merle. It's the same thing with the wild dog of Africa, but they just do it naturally. And so we do have to be aware of that. But again, when you get to the bully, that's one of the reasons we can't breed Merle to Merle. Now, you have had people who have bred Merle to Merle successfully, and the way they did that was by making sure there was hardly any white and hardly any Merle around the head, eyes, ears of the dog. But again, I wouldn't advise it until we all learn and know Merle a lot better than what we know it. The other thing is you could end up taking that dog and bringing it to a non-Merle, but then you're also breeding in some genetics that you created by breeding Merle to Merle. So we all need a better understanding of it, so that we can get, so that, you know, we can decide how we want to experiment and the decisions we want to make with those experimentations that we do. Um, what were we at? Hold on. Why did I click off of there? Let's see here. What was the other topic? Give me just a second. There it goes. Nope, there it is not. Let's see. We also had, where did it go? Hold on. Let me go to my announcements real quick so I can see what the other topic was. Okay, so best age to breed. What do you do with your pregnant females, and best forms of exercise. So again, exercise is just your dog panting. When the dog starts drooling, that you're now moving into conditioning. Best form of exercise, I would say walks, fetch, things like that. Um, Again, if your dog is intense, you want to make sure that if you decide to play fetch with that dog, that he's of age to be going hard, because a lot of these dogs start going hard and they're too young for it. So when you got a young pup, I would say up until a year old, best thing to do is to just, I love intense games of fetch. Don't just throw the ball straight. Throw it straight up in the air to work their back hips, bounce it off the ground to work that front, bounce it off the walls to work those shoulders and those hips, for agility. Don't just throw that. Don't get caught. Figure out as many creative ways as you can throw that ball. The Chuck It is one of the best balls. That's the orange ball with the blue stripe that you can find at PetSmart and many other places. That ball bounces off everything. You'll see your dogs, especially young dogs, when they go to get that ball in midair, if they don't get it just right and their tooth hits that ball takes off going the opposite direction. So make sure you're creative with the way you throw your ball. I love playing fetch. I love the flirt pull. We just talked about that. The spring pull. Again, if you've got hills near you where you've got like dirt hills, your dog's got a favorite ball or toy, throw that ball up that to the top of that hill and let your dog run up there and bring it back down. Be careful with your dog on bringing it back down. And one of the best things to do is to get your dog to understand its momentum. Start it off just throwing it on the hill, but not to the top of the hill, just, about 5 to 6 feet up the hill, so that the dog gets used to how gravity works and how his intensity works with gravity. And then gradually start throwing it higher and higher. And that way the dog has an understanding. And then I would do that on a regular basis. So if you do that today, when you come back tomorrow, again, work your dog into it. The main problem with hills is the dog coming down the hill. If you throw that ball up, they start bringing it down the hill too fast, and they can injure themselves. So start off working the dog up so that it gets an understanding of how it needs to walk. When that dog really gets it, they'll start to come down slightly diagonally and make their way back to you, because then there's less pressure on their shoulders and less pressure on their joints. But again, start doing it gradually. Don't go all the way to the top. Start doing it, low, medium, high. Give that dog a chance, a few runs to understand how coming downhill works on his body, because all that pressure tends to be on their front end, and they've got to learn how to deal with that without injuring themselves. And that is not important for them to bring it back down fast. You know what I mean? Run up the hill fast, bring it back down slow. And that's what you want from your dogs. What else do I like to do as far as conditioning? I have not done weight pull in years, but I do like weight pull. I think it's a great conditioning method. I stopped doing that when I got into the hill work. So I do prefer the hill, having the dog run up and down hills. But those are my main forms of exercise. Swimming, there's nothing that beats swimming. If you're near water, you got a pool, whatever it is, there's nothing that beats swimming. That is the best form of exercise, especially for these large breeds, because it's just low impact on them. Let's see if we have any questions. How many times can you breed the female? Again, you can breed the female as long as she's able to recover quickly. When you notice that her recovery is from being pregnant and delivery is starting to get slower than it used to be, that's when it's time to breed it to an end. You have to ask yourself, though, why am I breeding this female this many times? What's going wrong with my program that I'm breeding this female this many times? Because to me, 3 times, that's, that should be good. Uh, Five, kind of pushing it. What you got to really think, what's the purpose. Let's see here. Given the Merle was okay, we hit that. How long you been into the bully breed, Casper? I have been into bullies probably about 5 years. I think we probably about 5 years we've been watching the bullies. Then we purchased our first dog about a year after that. And then we just been getting dogs ever since. We had 3 breedings, and we just had one last breeding about 4 weeks ago. So been in the bullies for about 5 years. We breed slow though. We don't do a whole lot of breedings. We right now we're very focused on the temperament that we're looking for. I think we have gotten that by picking the right females and using King as a stud. He gives us a great balance. We're able to take driven dogs, breed them to King, and create a great balance with the pups. Right now, the last litter we had, the oldest pups are, well, not the last litter, but the oldest from the one before that are right now 10 months old. They are doing extremely well with being protective dogs, extremely well with dog parks. They're just all around, dealing with kids, and it's turned out great. But they still, there's a confidence to them that they get from their moms that you see. King is an extremely confident dog because he loves socializing. At home, he gets protective, but out in public, you see his confidence because he loves socializing. The females we have, their confidence is confident, but it's a little bit of a challenge. They are looking at other dogs like, what's happening? You know what I'm saying? What I love about the pups is they're the perfect balance of that right now. And they're not, well, they're almost not pups anymore. But I love the fact that those dogs do. 2 of them are doing very well at the protection training. I don't know how far their owners are going to take them with it, but they're doing extremely well with protection and obedience training. And I love the way they came out. They're all in versatile homes. One, which is actually one of the biggest, actually lives with an elderly lady, 2 little kids, and his owner and his wife. And they all love him, from the little kids to the elderly grandma. They all love him, and it came out a great breeding. And right now that we've gotten there, we are making our next move to lock that in, not necessarily by blood, but by matching traits to lock that in. And then once we've done it by locking in traits, then we'll lock it in by doing a breeding that's going to lock in the actual blood. But our objective is to keep everything within ourselves until we've locked it in, and then at that point start breeding out with other breeders. And Casper said, do you see yourself using any of your dogs for protection training? Actually, we are working on Cardi Bull right now. We have 2 pups that are doing protection training. With Cardi Bull, we're working on it. The issue that we're having is my oldest son is her best friend. I want to, do the agitation, and I want him to control her. But he plays with her, roughhousing in the house, lets her get away with murder. And what she is struggling with, I can out Cardi with no problem. When he tells her out, to her it's just fun and games. So that's what we're working on right now. And actually, I'm glad you asked that, because I've been getting on him about it. Him, earning her respect, not just her love and her friendship. And so he's working on it. And probably within the next couple weeks, we'll start doing protection training, and we're going to be recording it so that everybody can see how she goes about doing it and how we go about doing it. But I do want to cheat a little bit and get her to at least listen to my son, because right now she does not listen to him. And I tell her out, and she'll sit there. It is what it is. So we're working on that. But her 2 puppies, though, are doing very well with protection training right now, as far as, at their age. Let's see. Where were we? Does punishing a dog for growling cause the dog to not warm before it bites? So here it goes. Saw a post earlier today by Heather from Oily Drop Bully. Shout out to her. And basically, people were on the post saying that if your dog growls, you shouldn't punish it because then it teaches the dog to bite without warning. That is not true. Um, I every so often my wife thinks it's a waste of money, but I like to stay involved with the new training method. So every I'd say 5 to 10 years, I will get involved with a new training academy or whatever, and especially now that you can do all of it online and everything, until you actually have to go out with what they call your mentor or whatever. But I like to stay involved with that and see the new methods of training, because it also teaches you one of the things that when I first learned training dogs, it was about actually training dogs and doing a good job. Excuse me. At some point, training evolved into how to train the dog as fast as possible so you can get as many clients in. And they don't admit that's what it is, but that is what it is. And I'm noticing that's where training has gotten to is, using treats and things like that so that you can get the dog trained as fast as possible, then get out of there, get to your next client, then come back, to this guy next week or a couple of days later. But today's training methods and today's trainers, without them even realizing it, tend to be learning and structure on a manner of getting as many clients in as possible, having as much time in the day to get as many clients in. And I think a lot of the dogs and a lot of the clients really lose out on that and have to put in more work than they really should have to for a client. But I do like doing it but like I said, I still like keeping up with the new training methods because it does evolve every 2 years. And I would say you notice the evolution every about 5 years. But in that process, I think we have become too into trying to assume what dogs think rather than react off what dogs are doing. Dogs don't assume what each other are thinking. They respond to twitches in the eye, ears, um, level of tail, uh, posture, what direction the foot is facing. These are all the things that a dog catches, not only in themselves, but also with us. And instead, what we're doing, we went through a phase with humans where everybody was ADHD. Now, all of a sudden, everybody has anxiety. And we're throwing everybody on pills. And we're starting to do that with our dogs. And we have to be careful because dogs don't need these things. The truth is, most humans don't need these things. There are some that do and benefit from it, but we're creating a society that is just addicted to having issues. Even like my daughter has friends. She's 22, and you'll hear these girls talking and, oh, my anxiety kicked in. Well, we didn't call it anxiety when I was young. I don't even know that we knew how to spell anxiety when I was young. We called it, I got nervous, and that was that. But now we like these elaborate words and these terms, and we have to be careful with these terms, especially in the dog world, because the more you use a term, the more you forget what that term is describing. Humans, you go to the Mexican language, African languages, Chinese languages, even when you hear slang terms and terms that are used in Europe and for English, everything tends to be more descriptive. Um, in America, we're built on, rather than use 5 words to describe it, let's just give it a title. And what happens is you start losing being able to be in tune with what that title truly is, the description of that thing. So if I have a phone that rings loud, rather than say this phone rings too loud, in America we'll call it a loudophone. Well, next thing you know, we're making these loudophones, and we never got to the bottom of the issue, which was we just needed to make phones with low volume. I have no idea how I came up with that analogy, y'all. But that's what we do. We like to give titles, and as Americans, we like to take on titles. and we like to study titles and the mind. You don't have to study. Dogs don't study each other's mind. They don't study each other's emotions. Animals are very aware that your emotions are no more important than your fingernail. And just like we clip our fingernails, you need to clip your emotions and move on. And that goes for humans, and especially a lot of you men, and especially a lot of you men in this bully world. A lot of y'all are way too emotional over things. And it's crazy because you're breeding dogs with that same mentality. You know, I get dudes threatening me, saying what they're gonna do to me when they see me just because their post got denied in the group. I can't concern myself with that. You know, if you want to see me when you see me and do whatever it is you think you're gonna do, I welcome it. But I can't get emotional with you over typed words and all this weird virtual reality stuff that we're doing with social media. It just, I'm too old to get involved in that emotionally. And I think what happens is, like I said, we start to try to break down dogs. So when somebody says, if I scold or punish my dog for growling, then that means my dog is going to learn to not growl and bite without growling. I've dealt with protection dogs. I have trained protection dogs. I have dealt with dogs who catch dogs. I've had terriers. My last Jack Russell, I just had to put her down a couple weeks ago. That was my girl too, but she just gets getting old and she ended up getting cancer. But Fox was, I love her, but she was an evil little dog. Um, we punished her for growling at people and things all the time. It was a regular basis. She never decided to bite without growling. Dogs don't think that way. That's like saying that if I punish my dog for eating my hamburger, all of a sudden my dog's going to stop eating. That doesn't make sense. Dogs don't operate that way. But that is the way we as humans and dog owners and dog trainers and dog breeders, you know, are starting to think with all these, you know, using one word terms to try to classify something that takes 5 to 10 words just to make it easier for us to say it or be a part of it. And like I said, I think we get caught up over studying emotions and over studying the mental of things because it makes us feel smarter. It makes us feel like we understand something. But meanwhile, it affects these dogs in a negative way. If we want to do that to ourselves as humans, cool. It might work out for us. It might not. We'll see in about 50 years. As far as dogs, though, we can look at it now and we can see it. It's not working out. There's no reason for dogs to be on CBD to calm down. There's no reason for dogs to be on ADHD pills. It just doesn't make sense that we're doing this to our dogs. There's no reason dogs should have to eat a lot of these complicated, expensive things that we have dogs eating. And yes, it's fun to learn these things. I get it. But when you start over implementing it, you are now taking that dog further from what it was that made that dog a dog. You know, we know that the bulldog was one of the most unhealthy experiments that we did with dogs, the English bulldog. For whatever reasons, we have chosen to be influenced by the English bulldog. If you look at the pocket now, they're slowly becoming another version of a more healthier English bulldog. But what does that mean? You also have a American Staffordshire background, pit bull background, so you're becoming a less healthy version of the American Staffordshire and the pit bull. I think somewhere we have to find a balance when it comes to a lot of these breedings that we're doing. Um, let's see, Casper said, do you see yourself using any of your dogs for protection? Someone said, has anyone tried starting fresh again from purebred Staffordshire Terriers and ABPTs to get to the bully again? The only person I know, for some reason, I don't see him a lot anymore. Dame Summertime. He put his dogs together. I know he was using Amstaff. I know he was using Pit. I know he was using American Bulldog. I don't remember what else he was using, so I don't want to speak on that. But he started it, you know, and I can try to get a hold of him to get him on here. He got his dogs registered. and everything. I think right now, but he started this process like 10 years ago. I think right now there's no need for it. There are enough American bullies with good structure, good health. You got the classic that you can always go to now. The classic is still here. I know they're trying to get it as a thicker dog now, but if we're breeding XLs and you think you need to kind of clean things up, you can go to a classic, then back to your XLs. I don't think we need to bring the Amstaff and the Pit Bull into it any longer. If you've got a method for doing it, make sure that you're doing it before these, and you get it done before these stud books get closed on you. Because I want to say they're still open. Casper said, I would say my dog is well trained, but the sight of another dog makes him go crazy. He's APBT, boxer mix. He's also a accidental breeding like your boxer mix. Exactly. So, Casper speaking on my dog Floyd. Floyd was 3/4 old family red nose. Floyd is 3/4 old family red nose, 1/4 boxer. I had a line of old family red nose I was breeding back in the day, and happened to come across a dude, old man, who lives in Long Beach, and or lived in Long Beach. He actually passed a few years ago, but he lived in Long Beach, and he was breeding dogs. He was breeding them for fighting, but he happened to have a line of dogs that were distantly related to my old line that I had when in the early 90s. Somehow I forgot how I came across him, and so I wanted to see his dogs. We got to talking, and I was looking for a catch dog at the time because I was heavily into hunting with my bull lurcher and my Jack Russell at the time, and I needed a catch dog, but I needed a dog that was able. It didn't have to keep up with the bull lurcher, but it needed to be just behind it. And he and I got to talking, and he told me that he had his sister accidentally. It's a long story, but anyway, one of his old family red nosed females, game dog, extremely game dog, was bred to his sister's boxer. They had a bunch of pups. He took one of those pups that he liked the best, and he bred it back to the mom, which was the old family red nose, and created a litter of which is where I got my dog Floyd from. So he's 3/4 old family red nose, 1/4 boxer, off of inbred breeding from a son who was half boxer, half old family red nose, back to the mom, which was old family red nose. Um, but I would say, yeah, and Floyd is extremely animal aggressive. I mean, he's hot, extremely animal aggressive. There's no, he's one of those dogs that when he gets into it, whether it's been boar, coyotes, bobcats, there is just no stopping him. He doesn't slow down. It's just a huge adrenaline rush that he operates off of. So, but Casper, send me a pic of your dog. I'd like to see him. But yeah, so Floyd is 3/4 old family red nose and 1/4 boxer. Someone said you will breed an American Staffy. That's what it. Well, you know what? If you're gonna breed, get into the XLs, you're gonna have to bring the Mastiff back into it. If you want to start from scratch, you're gonna need the Mastiff for the American Bulldog. The biggest breeds involved in this breed is American Bulldogs and American Staffordshire. There's a little bit of Pit Bull, there's a little bit of various Mastiffs, well, a lot of various Mastiffs. But the main thing is the American Bulldog. You have American Bulldogs that are tall as hell, big as hell, from your Johnsons to also your Scotts. So, but those are the main two breeds in this breed, is the American Bulldog and the American Staffordshire Terrier. From there, you got other breeds that brought in the details. You know what I mean? The oldie bulldog, the various mastiffs to bring in extra bone, things like that. But that is where they came from. Sounds nice. How old is Floyd now? Floyd's about 13 right now. He's an old man right now. He still thinks he's tough, but I know the secret. But yeah, he's an old man right now. But yeah, so you can recreate it, but like I said, you've already got specimens here that are nice. You know what I'm saying? And then you also have the classic if you need to clean things up that you can breed to. We did a breeding with King to a standard and got some pups off the litter. There's one that really stands out. He's all black, and I think he's gonna be a keeper. They're 4 weeks old now, but you can take these XLs, the classics, and things right now before they actually make a separation and say that you can't. So now's the time. I don't think you really need to rebuild this breed. I think the experimenting has already been done. I think it's time to clean it up. That's my opinion. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. If anybody I got a movie to watch with my wife. If anybody has any other questions, definitely throw them in there. But to touch up on the topic, best ages to breed females. If you're inexperienced, wait to third heat. If you are experienced, wait to second heat. Also know that you need to be bouncing that female back afterwards so that her development can continue without skipping a beat. If you're breeding a second heat, you need to be experienced with doing that. So if you're going to breed a second, never breed a first heat. If you're going to breed a second heat, make sure that you are experienced in dealing with pups just in case she doesn't want to. And also make sure you are experienced in bouncing that female back after the pregnancy so that she doesn't lose anything in her development. I would say third heat. If you're looking for age 2, I guess that would be around there. And when to stop breeding, to summarize what we went over, well, you want to stop when that female can no longer recover. I would say 3 to 5 breedings should be enough. But there needs to be a purpose for each of those breedings. And every time you breed any dog, you need to make sure you are trying to bring something new to your yard. Otherwise, why are you still breeding that same dog? Next was best forms of exercise. Mine is just walking, finding hills to walk. I like walking up them fast, down them, walking down slow. As far as conditioning, I love the flirt pole. I love fetch, throwing the ball any kind of way, straight up in the air, bouncing it off the ground, bouncing it off of walls, trees, anything else I could throw at without missing, just to keep the dog guessing and keep the dog's mind fluid. Other forms of conditioning, hill runs. You got a ball, you got a dirt hill, throwing the ball up to the top of the hill so we can bring it back down. Again, make sure you work your way up that hill gradually so that the dog gets experienced on how to come down the hill without tweaking joint or anything. I love the spring pull as far as working the dog with these XLs. Make sure that their rear feet stay on the ground. Another form of exercise that really builds the mind of a dog, and I do it with all mine. If you've got a field by your home and you have rabbits, you'll never find a better form of exercise, because if you've got a lot of rabbits in that field, one of the first things they do when they see your dog, some of them take off running, some of them just duck down. So then your dog learns to how to, takes off running after some passes up 10. You stay and stop still. Then the dog starts to learn, okay, some of them didn't run, they stayed still. And then it starts to notice them and it chases them. Then the dog starts learning to use his nose in the bushes. There's almost no better school for dogs, no better teacher for dogs than a bunch of wild rabbits. So if you got a field near you where you could just take your dog out and he's guaranteed to see rabbits, do it. I have a field near me where I used to just take them out around midnight. And man, I'd take a spotlight out there and we would just go to town. So definitely that's one form. Another form of is swimming. Swimming is one of the best forms of exercise, just in case this earpiece goes dead. Swimming is one of the best forms of exercise you can do, especially with large breed, thick bone dogs. It's just no impact to it. And the dogs can just go for laps. Just be careful. Make sure you're in there with the dog, or make sure that you have the dog, on a harness and you've got a leash attached. I've seen people who have huge tubs. They put the dog in the tub and they've got a rail that goes over the top of the tub. Put the dog on a harness, chain the dog from the harness to the top of the rail, and the dog just swims. Never has to worry about sinking or anything. So yeah, swimming is great. What else was the other topic? And care for a pregnant or nursing female. Again, I feed them the exact same way that I do feed them. on a regular basis. The only thing that I do different is when I go to breed the female, I no longer condition her, but I continue to exercise her. I increase their fat intake with raw ground beef. Once I have confirmed that the female is pregnant, within 30 days, I'm going of the breeding, I'm going to add SureGrow 100, and I will add bitch pills as supplements to their food. And again, make sure you're walking them. Once I confirm pregnancy around 30 days, then I no longer walk them. I just let them out in the yard to do their thing. And they'll gain weight naturally because you're naturally feeding them more. You're no longer exercising them, and you're no longer conditioning them. So they're going to naturally gain weight, and their body's going to naturally adjust and fall into place. But I don't do any big. I know people just start doing yogurt and cottage cheese and all these other things. I don't do anything like that. I feed them the exact same way. I just increase what I feed them. And I also start adding more raw ground beef, high fat content, 70-30 is what I prefer to use. And then the last one, does punishing a dog for growling cause a dog to not warn before it bites? No, dogs do not operate that way. I thought that post was hilarious, but they don't. Just like if you punish a dog for eating your hamburger, it's not going to all of a sudden stop eating food. Dogs just don't operate that way. They're intelligent enough that they know, okay, I'm being punished, and therefore, when you punish a dog for growling, the average intelligent dog looks at that as my owner wants me to not engage and ignore whatever it is I'm growling at. So that's the way I would look at it. The other thing is your body has to come. So if you punish the dog by yelling at it, your body needs to get between you and that object that dog is growling at as you yell at it. If you're punishing it by smacking it, your body needs to, dogs operate off body posture and movement. They don't operate off snapping unless it's a last resort. Other than that, the only person that snaps at them or just because she's grumpy is their mom. So you want to get involved in that physically. So if my dog is here, he sees something here, he growls. If I decide to yell at him, smack him, whatever, to get his attention, whatever it is, I'm doing all that at the same time as I get between him and that dog, and that I'm facing my dog. Pay attention to your posture when you face your dog. Your shoulders should be facing him. Your feet should be going towards him, not going this way, not going that way. Your dog is aware of all those things. You know what I'm saying? So that way he knows your focus is 100% on him. But no, punishing your dog for growling does not cause a dog to bite without warning. What it does is it causes the dog to be distracted from what it's growling at. And the dog starts to learn, next time I'm in this situation, my owner does not want me to growl. It is your responsibility as an owner to prove to him why you don't want him to growl by taking him around whatever that object is so that he learns that it's okay. Other than that, let me roll through here and see if y'all had any questions. Great live. Thank you very much. What else? Am I missing anything? Let me make sure I'm not missing anybody's. Okay, I think I got everything. All right, so tomorrow, Danny Cervantes will be on. I don't know what his topic is gonna be, so he'll be on live tomorrow. Thursday, we'll have the XL Bully Showcase. A lot of you wait to the last second of the showcase to start putting in your posts. The minute that post goes up in the morning, start putting your stuff in. What I'll try to do, and I know I said that last time and I forgot, is when Danny does his live tomorrow, when he's finished, I will go ahead and make the post for the XL Bully Showcase. But that showcase is there for those who are in the group, the Giant XL American Bully Breed group on Facebook, for you to be able to go in there, and we are going to showcase whatever it is you got going on. If you're doing transportation, we will promote that. If you are people hire you for whelping, let us know. We'll let them know about your business. You got pups on the ground, a litter, a breeding coming up, a stud that's out there. Let us know, and we're going to, put the spotlight on you and whatever it is your bully business or dog business is doing. You make collars, you make t-shirts, whatever it is you're doing, you do artwork, but you've been nice enough not to spam the whole group with your artwork and your banners. we will promote that. That's what the XL Bully Showcase is about. Friday, we will be back on the marketing series with Robert McCormick and Andre Smith of BDK. I appreciate those brothers a lot for that. I don't a lot of times get to sit around things and just be able to relax and know nothing. And that Friday live, I love it because they're both cool. They joke with each other. We joke, but they're talking about something that I have no idea about, which is promoting and marketing. The first part of the series, we went through photography and videos, what lenses to use, what settings on your phone to use, how to position yourself. They talked about things I've never heard of. Check out our Facebook, Thrower Bullies YouTube. You can catch it on there, or check out our YouTube. You can catch it on there. But those brothers did an amazing job explaining it. Then last Friday, we went over Facebook, how to get going on Facebook, what you should post, what you shouldn't post, the way you should caption your posts, how often to post, what to look for as far as growth, things like that on Facebook. You know, it was, there's so much that I'm doing wrong when it comes to, I don't really promote or market. You know, we post our dogs because everybody else does. I just like kind of getting on here and talking with you guys and discussing dogs. But we don't really do a lot of promoting our dogs the way we should be. We always say we're going to, then we do it for like 3 days, and then we fall off for 3 months. But there's still things that they discussed in last week's live that I just had no idea of. Something called scraping, where you can get people's email address. It was crazy, but they a lot of basic things that a lot of us don't know. They're giving information on. This Friday, if I'm not mistaken, last Friday was Facebook. So this Friday, we're going to be discussing Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely tune into that. So tomorrow, tune into my man, Danny Cervantes from Second and Nine Bullies with Champion He-Man. He's a dope dog, dope red dog. So check Danny Cervantes out. And we are out. Salute to all y'all. Thanks for joining in.